when do seizures typically happen? Like, is there a time? Is it in the sleep, or is it when? Is it all times of the
Right.
day? Is there?
So there's different ways for a person who's prone to seizures to have their threshold lowered so they actually have a seizure. There's certain states in sleep where people are more prone to seizures because of the change to like deeper sleep and to make it less, not too complicated, but the thalamus, which is a regulator of rhythms, it kind of shifts during sleep. And so there's certain parts of sleep where people are more prone to seizures during their sleep because of that. But other than that, other things can cause lowering of seizure threshold. For example, people who are prone to seizures, even if they are on medication, if they drink enough alcohol will lower their seizure threshold. If they get enough head traumas, that can lower seizure threshold. And even people without seizure, genetic reasons for seizures, can eventually get seizures because of that. For example, people with many traumatic brain injury episodes or incidents, I should say, like athletes are prone to that. Dementia patients can eventually get seizures as their dementia progresses. It all has to do with the state of your neurons, your nerve cells.
Wow.
So how healthy or how robust they are versus not robust. So
That's so. Do people get seizures in your office often
while they're
while they're there?
um, it doesn't really happen that often, believe it or not. I mean, I've seen a few times in my life where they actually had it while in the office, but usually they already have had their seizure. They've already been to the hospital, and the first step for me is to determine if it was really a seizure or not. If they've never been diagnosed with epilepsy or seizures, that's the first step, is to see if they actually had a seizure. And a lot of times you can, again, like I said, 80% of your diagnosis could be made just by history. So if you know what questions to ask or to elicit the right answers from the patient, you can make the diagnosis. You don't really have to do too much of a workup. I mean, I'd still do other tests such as MRI brain if they haven't had one, or an EEG to look at their brainwave activity state. But sometimes it's not clear cut, because patients may pass out. And passing out by itself can cause somebody to have like a little bit of an arm shaking, for example.
Yeah.
But usually the main difference is like from passing out, a person wakes up relatively quick. They are not confused. They're not out of it. They're not tired for like half a day or several hours after the incident. And they usually have some sort of what we call pre-syncope. Syncope is another term for passing out. So pre-syncope auras or symptoms. So like, for example, it's classical is I start feeling my heart beating abnormally, and then my vision gets darker, and then I start hearing ringing in my ears. That's kind of implies low blood flow. So the reason the person passed out there is not because the brain cells started firing abnormally. It's more like a secondary occurrence where the blood flow wasn't enough to the brain, and therefore the brain sort of has a episode because of that.
Whoa.
So it's a secondary cause, if you will, but it's not epilepsy in a sense. It's more of a syncope, which is a
Whoa.
cardiovascular issue.